But let's move on and talk about a finance professional and Aussie business owner who is bucking the trend. Say goodbye to woke corporates because a new era is here. The founder and director of Tribeca, which is an investment fund, his name is Ben Cleary, and he has essentially said to young people, if you want to work here, you have to drink beer and you can't be woke. He said you have to support Queensland in the state of origin, have to enjoy a cold 4X, and most importantly, you can't be woke. It's a surefire way to ruin team spirit if you relent to wokeness. We've seen it before in our Sydney office and won't be making that mistake again. He is totally onto something here. Firstly, it's just refreshing to hear someone in corporate Australia actually say, you know what, we don't want progressive politics invading our office. We actually want this to be a neutral space. Good on him for that. And he is right. When wokeness does start creeping into the corporate world, it does undermine team spirit because everything becomes a microaggression. Everything becomes offensive. Language has to be constantly policed. HR is on steroids. It's unpleasant to work at. So Ben Cleary, well done.
I think there's one thing he's got wrong. That's that you must drink 4X.
Well, see, I thought it was supporting Queensland.
Well, it is.
Was the
I know.
that, for me.
I know that's the point. But 4X is cat's piss. There's much better beers out there. It must be said. But otherwise, I'm on board with this. It should just be policy everywhere. Now, the problem is it won't become policy everywhere because the corporate world has been infected by this bloody lefty woke nonsense. But what he is saying is that, you know, I want people to be able to come to work and have fun.
Yep.
Which you know, in a lot of workplaces is just impossible now because you've got to look over your shoulder and make sure that you, oh, geez, if I say the wrong thing in front of that person and they're going to run off and make a complaint and then next thing I'm up in front of HR because the person I've actually said it to, like in all the corporate training you get these days, they tell you it doesn't matter whether the person you've said something to cares what you've said. If someone on the other side of the office happens to be walking past you as you say it and they don't like that you've said it, you're up in front of HR, good night nurse, which is just ridiculous. If you don't like what I've got to say, don't come near my desk, quite frankly. Just leave me alone. I think of the stuff that was being said when I started work 10 years ago in the newsroom, and a lot of what we were saying then, 10 years on now, like you'd be strung up and shot if you said that. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I mean, yes, there are certain things that we've weeded out, like sexual harassment, whatever. Fair enough. You shouldn't go around groping people, whatever. But there's a certain level of fun that I think, you know, we've just thrown the baby out with the bathwater. And he's saying, let's just bring back a bit of that workplace culture. We
have, and it's so sad. I remember at a previous workplace and I walked into a room and a colleague said, gee, don't you look nice? I mean, it's okay. You're allowed to say that someone looks nice. And the look on his face was shock horror that, oh my God, I've said something that could get me into trouble. And that is a really sad place to be within society, that you're nervous to give someone a compliment. But when I saw this and I thought, isn't it just so refreshing to see, to your point, Freya, that all he wants is to support Queensland, drink 4X, but not to be woke. And you compare it to last year, there was that story of someone who was applying for a job and there was on the drop-down menu of what gender you were and there were 33 different options. You'd see that and go running for the hills for a workplace like that. So it's nice to see that we're going to change that tide and bring fun back to the workplace and remove all this wokeness, cancel culture. I think everyone's just had enough.
I know, and I wish did you watch Mad Men? Did you like Mad Men?
I didn't watch Mad Men.
Oh, no, you watched Mad Men? What's wrong with these people? Anyway, Mad Men, great series, but it's about an advertising agency in the 60s. And I'm always terribly jealous when I watch Mad Men because they're there, you know, in the middle of the day having a meeting, sipping on a whiskey. And just, you know, bring a bit of this back, you know. There are still workplaces where people... It's why I went into journalism, because you could sort of drink on the job. But you know, we've just lost fun. Bring back some fun to the world, and while we're at it, bring back the long lunch. I reckon
because no one's in the office anymore. That's the problem. The long lunch is gone, the Friday after work drinks, none of that happens because everyone's working from home.
Yeah, and there is a correlation, I reckon, between like the degradation of Western civilization and the death of the long lunch. It's just a concurrent line with both.
And people are too worried. If you socialise outside of the office, anything you say in that social environment can still be used against you in a professional workplace. And so people just go, why take the risk? Managers run for the hills, HR says you can't do it, and that's how corporate culture dies.
The Riot Act that's always read to before the Christmas party.
Oh, yeah. And I should note, though, that a lot of this, like some of it is driven just by woke corporations, but a lot of it now is driven by the law. And like employers have no choice but to get really harsh on this stuff, particularly under the Albanese government. They've like the regulations and like employers now have to actively ask you if there's anything wrong. It's not good enough to come and report something if and when it happens. Like it's just beyond the pale, I think.
No, I agree.